A very good afternoon to everyone, whoever is watching. It's a fine Saturday today, and we have even finer programmer with us, Nishant Chitkara, who is a two-time ICPC Regionalist, a six-star coder on CodeChef, and he has also had a lot of experience with some amazing companies as an intern, like Dunzo and DE Shaw and State Authority of India, and is currently working as a technologist in LG Ads. We are pleased to have him with us today. Nishant, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Yeah, hey Devanjan, thanks for asking. I'm doing great. How about you?
Amazing. I'm good. I'm good. Nishant, we have a lot of questions from you from the community already. I have a lot of questions for you personally, and I'm sure we'll be getting a lot of questions in the comment section like every time. Before we go ahead with this session and start picking your brains, I would just like to get to know you a little more. Nishant, uh, tell me something about your childhood. Where did you grow up? Your early life?
So I was born and brought up in Pune. It's a city in Maharashtra,
Uh-huh.
and I've been living there since childhood.
Right.
I went to a school called Delhi Public School here,
Mm-hmm.
and like, yeah, that's a short.
Okay, Delhi Public School. So, how was life at DPS? And did you have an experience of coding when you were in school?
Not exactly coding, but in my 11th and 12th, I did have computer science as a subject. So I had a little bit of idea of what C++ and programming is, but I wouldn't say it was a lot. Like probably you could get to that level in a month or two. So
Right, right. Excellent. So, tell me, you went to which college was you went to BITS Goa, right? So
right.
I've heard a lot of things about the coding culture over there, but I would like to know from you how was it for you? How did it help you, as a programmer, the culture in your college?
So the coding culture is actually pretty good. I would say more than competitive programming, our college has a better culture of open source and other stuff development. But
Hmm.
competitive culture is also pretty well, and I guess it's improving. So I guess we are doing a good job there.
Right.
Uh, but unfortunately, towards the start of my college, uh, I did not know a lot of people who did competitive programming. I, in fact, did
Uh-huh.
not know competitive programming till like a year or so. And even when I
Right.
started, I had no idea what that is. Is it called competitive programming? I did not know about that.
Right.
So, but in general, the culture is good. We have clubs for programming. We
Right.
have contests that we have within our college. So
Right.
we have a good culture, I would say.
So, are you still in touch with your college? Do you think the culture has changed a little from what it used to be when you were there, or how it was before you were there? Do you have any idea how the scene is right now?
Yeah, I guess the culture has become much better than before. I think in general in India, competitive programming has taken off a lot since 2017 and 18.
Right.
Since in the last 4 or 5 years, I think the number of users on each platform it must be at least 4 or 5x,
Right.
and our college is no exception. So
So you mentioned that in the last couple of years, 4 or 5 years, the scene has changed. So, uh, what do you think has contributed to this change? If it is a fair question to ask.
Uh, I don't exactly know why, but I think in general outside India it hasn't increased as much as it has in India. Maybe because it's very similar to DSA, and a lot of companies would probably ask DSA in their rounds, and a
Right.
lot of companies are even heavily focused on competitive programming while hiring.
Right. So, how did you develop an interest in programming? How did programming happen to you?
So, as I said, I started off in 11th and 12th, but it was not competitive programming. It was just basic computer science that each person would study in 11th and 12th if they have a subject called computer science.
Right.
So, after coming to college, I started exploring more fields. I started learning new programming languages,
Right.
started to explore various fields. ML, I explored a little bit of ML and
Mhm.
other fields.
Right.
And I guess in early 2018 is when I came across CodeChef only. There was a long challenge, I
Right.
think March. That was the first challenge I took part in. I had no idea it is competitive programming. And
Yeah.
after a month or two, I got to know that this is competitive programming and you have to study some algorithms, and based on that, you would
Right.
have to use your logic and solve problems.
Right. So you were introduced to competitive programming by accident. So you didn't have any idea beforehand. If that
Yeah,
is that a
I
fair?
did not. Yeah, right.
That would be fair, right? So did you have any mentors while you were in any
Again,
initial?
the
Yeah.
thing is that I came across competitive programming just through the internet, not through real people. And
Right.
that's how I learned for the initial 6 or 7 months before I could actually know people around me who take part in contests and uh, practice competitive programming regularly. I
Mm-hmm.
think like 6 months is a time after which you don't really need a lot of guidance. You're like self drive mode. So it's the first 4 or 5 months that you need some guidance to know
Right.
exactly how do you start off and stuff. But after
Yeah.
that, I guess you exactly know how to uh, increase your ratings or get better at it, or in general handle different situations.
So did you face any difficulties in the first few months? And if so, what were the hurdles that you were facing?
Yeah, of course. Like some difficulties would definitely be you don't exactly know what algorithms you need to study, what data
Right.
structures are
Right.
important, which are more common, which
Mhm.
the order in which you have to study that. I think that is a little more clear these days because
Right.
the resources have increased massively
Mhm.
around, even on YouTube, on Code Forces, on
Right.
CodeChef, and a lot of more sites.
Right.
But it wasn't similar back in the day.
Right. Right. Right.
So you have to figure out everything yourself, read
Yeah.
blogs, and learn stuff on your own. You
Right.
have you don't have real people to compare with, so choose a
Mhm.
virtual partner or something. Just find people who are around your rating and improving with a good pace, and try to catch up with
Right.
them.
That sounds like a lot of hard work. I'm going to get back to that question. I'm going to ask you a lot more about the resources that you refer to or still refer to, even though you're a professional now. But let's go back a little earlier. You started your competitive programming journey in 2018, if
Right.
I'm not mistaken. And now that you're a professional, you're still continuing as an active competitive programmer. Uh, uh,
Correct.
why so? I mean, I ask this question because I speak to a lot of programmers who are professionals now, and they say that I used to take part in a lot of CP, but now I have stopped, maybe because of the lack of time or something else. I want to ask you, okay, why do you still continue?
I think I still enjoy it, and
Right.
solving problems is always good. You should keep up with your form, and it shouldn't be that after a year or 2 year you can't solve the problems you used
Right.
to solve 2 years ago, maybe.
Right. I mean, it's not just about getting a rating high or just landing a good job and then forgetting
Yeah,
about
no, no,
CP.
it's not about that. If you go to my profile and look at my graph, my rating has probably decreased since I've
Right,
graduated. And
right,
I think the reason for that is the same as you mentioned, time.
right,
I probably don't have as much time as I used to have in college, the leisure
right.
of practicing any time in the day. So, but
Yeah.
I try to attempt a contest or two or solve some problems over the weekend when I get some free time.
Hmm.
Otherwise, weekdays are usually busy for all professionals, I guess.
Yeah. So, talking about your profession before you started your full time job with LG Ads, you had done a couple of internships and with good companies, with D. Shaw, Steel Authority of India, JP Morgan Chase. If there is something that I ask you, if you've learned something from each of these experiences, what would they be? I'm sure they have different companies have different styles of functioning.
Yeah, yeah. So all of these, sorry, all of these experiences are really very different.
Yeah.
So in my case, I was very lucky to work in companies which, like JP Morgan, which is probably one of the largest banks and probably Dunzo, which is a very small scale startup, I would say, in this stage.
Right.
And also, the interesting part is that in each of the four companies, my role was different. It was not
Right.
the same role. In
Right.
Steel Authority of India, I had kind of a front end role.
Mm-hmm.
At D Show, I had a back end one. At Dunzo, I had a data engineer role. And at JP Morgan, I had more of a data scientist kind of a role.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to explore all of these fields before I actually started off actually working. Right
Mm.
before I graduated, I had explored all of these fields,
Right.
and this actually for me, I was lucky, and it happened. I not try to do that, but it just happened luckily for me. So, Steel Authority of India and JP Morgan were two internships. They were through my college. My college, as a part of my college curriculum, you have to do two internships, and those were internships that I got through college at
Right.
Steel Authority of India and JP Morgan.
Right. So, how much were you expected to know, and how much did you learn on the job? And was it intimidating as a college student to get into these companies while working?
Yeah, I think I think I was very lucky to get an opportunity to work with all of them. And
Right.
for answering your question, so when I started off as an intern, the first internship that I did was in Steel Authority of India. I had no idea about anything, and even at D Shaw and Dunzo, I had no idea about what my role is and like what technologies I have to use. I had to learn everything from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think people generally would expect a lot from interns.
Right. Right.
I mean, they would expect you to give an output, but they won't expect you to know anything before you join, because you're obviously not, you haven't even graduated.
Right. And would you say these experiences have helped you in your professional life right now?
Yeah, of course. Like every internship has taught me something different. Maybe it's something basic like Git or something, or
Mm-hmm.
it could be anything not even related to your coding skills, right? It could be also related to personality and how to behave in a corporate environment.
Right. Right. Soft skills are also important, I'm sure.
They're equally right.
You're right. Okay, let's talk about something that we all want to know. It's you're a two-time ICPC regionalist. Uh, I want to know about the journey of competing in such a prestigious contest, not once but twice. And if you could tell me how the first time was different from the second time, 2019 and 2020.
Are you asking in general 2019 and 20?
No,
No, just
2020,
kidding. Just
ICPC
kidding.
19 and 20.
I know it. I was just kidding. So the answer would still be similar, like 2019 and 20. ICPC also was virtual in 2020.
Yeah.
So you kind of miss that team spirit. And also ICPC is not only about the coding competition, the 3 hours. It's about the entire 3 days you spend there, and you
Mm.
meet a lot of other people who are also who you have actually seen every day in real on the computer, but you have never seen them in real life. Meeting them
Right.
is, or even seeing them if you're not meeting them, is a different experience. And uh, I think that's a lot. After you get back from ICPC, it's a lot motivating seeing that there are a lot of people who are actually doing the thing you're doing, and obviously you would see the best programmers in the world in real life there. So
Hmm.
it's a different experience having it
Right.
on site. And online it was actually fun. Always participating with your team is, I think that is a fun thing, but
Right.
uh, I think the offline one has a much better experience.
Right. So when I ask my guests about their preparation process for any major contest, there's one thing that they say is just practice. Uh, do you have the same? If I ask you about your preparation process for ICPC, would you say the same, or is there anything else that you did for a contest like ICPC which is different for for a monthly contest on CodeChef or both forces?
So definitely that needs a lot of practice. Like a CodeChef contest or some other contest would just be that you probably just plan 15 or 20 minutes before the contest. But
Right.
this is something you need to plan from some months before, and you need to practice with your team regularly. You need
Right.
to uh, build a connection. You need to divide topics. You need to plan the entire thing
Hmm.
of how you want to actually attempt the contest. Do you want who wants to solve the harder problem first, who wants to solve the easier problem first.
Right.
And it's not about that. You also have to build a chemistry before. So it's not only solving problems together, but
Hmm.
I think if you're actually friends and all, it's better since you already have kind of a connection.
Right. So so you're saying that you start preparing for it at least a couple of months before the major thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. We have a question from Saket. Uh, I think the questions are coming in late for some lag in the system. But anyway, we have one question for now. Saket is wants to know the techniques to build logic on time. If you have any advice for Saket, Nishant.
Build logic on time. I guess try to practice a little, think for problems, for give a little more times to problems before seeing the solution. So if
Right.
you're stuck with a harder problem, try to think about it. Try to go in different directions. Try to uh, explore various approaches to solve it.
Hmm.
So it doesn't just help in that problem, but later if you see a problem, it just builds a thinking technique that
Right.
you need to tackle, how to tackle the problem.
I hope that answers your question, Saket. I'm going to go back to about your preparation process, yeah, during your non-professional days as well as now for competing. Uh, are there any references or online forums or even books that you suggest or you follow for preparing?
So initially, I think when if you're just a beginner and you're just starting, like if
Yeah.
you're even 2 or 3 months into competitive programming, I would say follow a structured way more than just attempting contests. So you should attempt contests, but also in the background keep reading through different algorithms in a structured way in a particular order from any source that you would like. So I'll come to the sources as well.
Hmm.
And if you actually have some experience, you already know all the basic algorithms, your fundamentals are you're good with your fundamentals, then I would say you can also just attempt contests and read other solution after the contest,
Hmm.
read the editorial, look at different approaches. And reading the code is actually very helpful because you won't only understand different approaches but also different small techniques and optimizations that people use in their code.
Hmm.
And coming to the sources, so if you're just starting out, there are a lot of things I think that are available right now. You can just follow a YouTuber that you like. You could follow. There are some things on CodeChef that are going on. You can follow
Hmm.
those DSA. I don't know what it's called, but like a course.
Right.
And I think just go for the free ones. Don't try to pay for anything right now.
Hmm.
Just go through all the free ones. And I think different people would like different people teaching them and different styles of teaching. So just choose yours, right?
Right.
Whatever suits you.
So, what kind of internet platforms do you recommend for clearing doubts and learn more about competitive programming?
So forums for CodeChef, CodeForces, AdCoder, these are pretty active. So if
Right.
you anytime want to ask a question, it's very likely that the question is already asked there.
Hmm.
But if you still feel like you have something new to ask, always
Hmm.
feel free to post your question there, and there would be a lot of people who would help you and also answer more than what you asked actually.
Okay. Looks like the questions have been coming in. We have a lot of questions for you already from our community, but let's take a couple of questions, if you don't mind, from the comments section. Okay. So D002, Arun Balaji. He is asking how to develop our logical thinking and skills, something that Saket has also asked. You have already answered the question, but Arun was not there when you did. If you want to repeat that or add something to it, we can.
I think my answer would be similar. Oh, hey, are you stuck? Okay, so
No,
my answer would be similar. So my
yeah.
answer would be still similar. Uh, try not to see the solution for long. If like there is a feature in CodeChef, CodeForces everywhere, you can keep a question, bookmark it. So that's what
Mhm.
I used to use. I used to bookmark a question for maybe if I can't solve a problem and I think I'm close, but I'm
Right,
not able to tackle it still. I would just add it to the to-do list or the bookmark,
right,
and I would look at it after a month or two whenever I feel like I have some time. I would
right.
just go through that list and try to clear that list.
That's a very interesting strategy, actually. I hope people take a note of that. Arun, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, but don't give up if you think the problem is interesting and you have something to learn from it. Don't give up
Right.
easily.
Okay, and let's take another question from the comment section. This is from Dhanush. Dhanush wants to know: can we do competitive programming in Python without any knowledge of C++ or Java
Yeah,
Avatar?
that's interesting because I started competitive programming in Python and I did not have a lot of idea about C++ and Java. So
Yeah.
you definitely can do it. But I would say because most of the people use C++ or Java,
Hmm.
it would sometimes be hard to read their code and read their solution if you don't know C++ or Java. So if you read their solution, you would automatically start start to learn C++, Java, or whatever
Hmm.
language you read other
Right.
solution in. Python is not very common, so finding a Python code for a question that less people have solved, I
Right.
mean, good luck for that, but it's not that easy to find it.
Right. Okay. So you're recommending Java over Python?
Yeah, I would say that for competitive programming, it's
Yeah.
better if you use one of C++ or Java.
Hmm.
But Python, you can very much carry it, but you have some disadvantages.
All right.
But it's not impossible. You can definitely do it. I had done it for about a year. About a year, I
Okay.
used to do it in Python, but then for the same reasons I mentioned, I switched to C++ and Java. There's also one more problem that sometimes if a problem is not properly designed or something,
Hmm.
you might probably not even be able to solve it in Python because of the time limits.
Hmm.
That was something I faced sometimes, but not in the very famous contests or something. In maybe a smaller contest which was organized by, uh, which is attempted by less number of people or something, you could face
Right.
this problem as well.
Most competitive programmers I see prefer C++. That's the trend that I have seen as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this is a question from Avtar, I think, platform Kashmira. Uh, I am preparing for IOI and just started competitive programming. Any suggestions? I am really passionate about it and want to back the gold medal.
Okay, so I guess it's a young person here.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you know about content programming at a young age, and you
Yeah.
should definitely start with it.
Hmm.
So, sorry, do you want to know how to solve problems or how to practice?
No, he said he's preparing for IOI and he has just started his CP. So it's just one suggestion. He has not clearly mentioned what he wants to know. I guess a
Okay.
little bit of yeah, starting
Yeah, so if
tips.
you're a beginner, I would say first start to solve some beginner level problems, and in the background, just keep reading about algorithms. If you find a question that you're not able to solve, just look at the algorithm used in it, try to Google it, read
Right,
articles about it from maybe Geeks for Geeks. You could read from CodeChef,
right,
discuss. You could read on Code Forces. There are some really beautiful blogs for some complex algorithms on Code Forces.
yeah.
So
All right. That's some substantial advice for you. I hope that helps you in your CP journey. Okay, Dhanush has asked, Sir, as I want to be a developer, Dhanush wants to be a web developer. So, which language should he go with? C++ or Java?
hey, so C++ and Java both won't be used in web development.
Okay.
So you should probably look at HTML, JavaScript, and
Mhm.
CSS if you want to be a web developer.
I'm glad Dhanush asked this question, and it's a major thing that you have cleared out. That C++ or Java, the two options that he was considering, will not be as helpful as he thinks. He should be considering HTML. I hope you note that down, Dhanush. Okay, I'll take another one, and then I'll go back to the questions that are sent in from the community. Karthik KK wants to know. He's in his third year, and he says, "Should I start CP or focus on development?"
Mhm.
Yeah, that's his question.
That really depends on what you want to do. If you want to, and also what interests you. So if you like competitive programming, like solving problems, I would say go with CP. And uh, I mean, both of them would definitely help you in the future, getting good ranks, or in development, you could probably contribute to some good open source projects, gain some good experience.
Hmm. Okay,
So depends on what you enjoy more. Try both on a basic level and see what you're interested in.
right. But I guess at this stage, I think both will be important. It's not an either or situation, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, in the end, you have to do both, I guess. You have
Yeah.
to know both a little. I mean, you can get away with knowing development and not knowing CP. That's a fairly common thing. And yeah, yeah, you can do that as well.
Right. So I'm gonna go back to the questions that have been sent in beforehand. I want to let people know that please keep your questions coming in. We're gonna pick up your questions and answer as many of them as possible. But coming back to you, Nishant, you're from BITS Goa, and it's a reputed college, especially for computer science, if I'm not mistaken. But a lot of people who are not from such tier one colleges. Am I? Is the
Yes,
audio? Yeah.
yeah, it's
Uh,
perfect.
it's a little different for people who are from tier three colleges. Uh, and they probably do not get in the infrastructure or the faculty support that other people get. So from that question, from that note, I'm going to ask you the question that has been sent in by this person called Parth. He's from a tier 3 college, and he wants to prepare for ICPC, and he
Right,
wants a roadmap for you. And I guess while answering, you have to consider the kind of infrastructure that he has right now.
sure. So I would say the first thing before preparing for ICPC is you should get a little hands-on experience with programming. Try competitive programming, become like practice it for a month or so, and also motivate your friends to do it, because in the end you have to form a team.
Hmm.
You can't attempt ICPC alone,
Hmm.
so you would have to form a team in the end. So I would say try to get a bunch of people in your college
Right.
to also start doing competitive programming. You don't necessarily have to be good at it for motivating other people.
Hmm.
Uh, have a good group, and like um, try and attempt all the contests regularly.
Right.
Sorry. So try and attempt the contest regularly, and try and solve the problems and discuss the problems with your friends
Right.
after the contest. And after you have a group of 5 or 6 people who do it, you can always form your team, right? You
Right.
know that there are 5 more people who also are good at it and practice it regularly.
Right.
So you can form a team with like the people you think you would want to attempt the contest, and you feel like one important thing while choosing an ICPC team is that you know that all the 3 people in the team don't
Hmm.
know the exact same skill. They should be able to solve a diverse number of problems, because you don't want all of them to solve a hard
Yeah.
question and no one can solve the easy one.
Right. Right.
Just
Right.
giving an example.
That's a very interesting and important point that you picked up. While picking your team, do not pick a team with the same skill set. Mix it up so that have a holistic prowess. Very well answered, Nishant. Thank you so much. Let's go back to the question. Another question by Pritesh Raj Purohit. Okay, and okay, he wants to know that how were you able to manage or reach such heights uh, in your CP roadmap, in your CP career, uh, and he wants to understand your roadmap, specifically how you covered DSA.
All right. So if you want to prepare for DSA, I already knew a lot of algorithms and data structures because I was active with competitive programming. But if your specific aim is to learn DSA, I would say there are different sources for that as well. You can practice on LeetCode, Interview Bit. There are
Right.
a lot of good platforms. Uh, if you're from computer science background, you would have a course in college as well. That if
Mhm.
that helps.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, and for the answer to how I was able to reach, I guess the key for it is not aiming for a very good rating or something very far from what you're currently at
Mhm.
the current time. Just try to improve every day. Just try to
Right.
be a little better than what you were
Right.
previously. Because even if you solve one problem every day from your first year, I think probably by third year you would have solved more than 1,000 questions. So
Right.
slow and steady wins the race, I guess.
I suppose rating is just a byproduct of just getting better as a programmer.
Yeah, you
Uh,
should aim to get better, and your
yes,
rating would increase automatically.
excellently put by Nishant. Okay, let's Nishant. If you don't mind, we're gonna get to some of the questions that have been pouring in for you. You seem to be one of the popular guests on WWC. Uh, all right. Um, Acha, this is from Ayush Kumar Singh. Ayush Kumar Singh has written to you on YouTube. What would you suggest for someone who has 1 year of experience? Ayush has just 1 year of experience as a programmer or a CP
So one
participant.
year experience in competitive programming, or you're saying 1 year of experience in
I,
professional?
I think people want to know more about competitive programming from you.
Yeah. So I would say that if you have 1 year of experience, it doesn't depend really on the years of experience. It depends on how much you currently know, but just giving a reference. So if you have 1 year of experience, I think you know the basic algorithms, you know how to tackle a problem, you know your programming language properly, and you know how to manage your time properly. So I
Hmm.
would say now your main thing, I think the thing you should focus on is practice. So you should practice a lot, try to solve at least one problem every contest.
Right.
So every contest, if you're not able to solve one problem, just solve the easiest problem you are not able to solve during the contest. Solve that after the contest.
Right.
That's usually called upsolving. And
Yeah.
so try to upsolve at least one problem after every contest, and definitely uh, try to read the solution if you're definitely not able to get a hang of it, and if it uses some algorithm which you don't know, you should also try and read about that algorithm. Usually in all the popular sites, when you read the editorial, you have hints as well. So
Right.
that's what I used a lot.
Hmm.
I used to watch the hints if I was not able to get a solution.
Hmm.
That's like much better than viewing the entire solution, since you still have to think about it. You just get a little head start, I would say.
Right. I see a question on the comment section where a person wants to know. I think Sage C wants to know. Okay, if the stars on your profile on any platform, do they help in getting jobs? Now you are a 6-star coder yourself, Nishant. Uh, do you think the ratings on CodeChef or CodeForces or other platforms, do they have an influence on how you bag a job?
I would say they are helpful for getting an interview, but after you
Right.
get an interview, it's all about your skill. No one's going to
Absolutely.
look at your stars or your rating or those numbers. I don't
Right.
even think most of the people, interviewers, would have an idea. If they are maybe 5 years or something older, they
Mhm.
won't have an idea. Like older than me, so maybe
Right.
they graduated before 2015. They probably won't even have an idea of what those ratings mean and all of
Mm.
that. So it's all about your skill in the interview. But before that, for getting a referral, maybe, or just getting an interview or two, those ratings
Right.
can be helpful. But in the end, it's about your skill, I guess. If you're
Right.
able to solve the problem on time.
Right. The stars will get you through the door, but then to actually bag the job, you would have to be skilled genuinely. But at the same time, to put it the other way, if you have the stars to your name, you're already a skilled programmer. If that's a fair thing to say, because
Yeah, then that's fair.
without the skill and the talent, no platform will give you the stars.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean the other way. If you don't have stars, it doesn't mean
Right.
you're not good.
Right. Right. Absolutely. Uh, okay, one more question we'll take from the comment section. Simple question from Rahul Kapoor. From where should I learn competitive programming?
Okay, so from where? So I started from CodeChef. I think the long challenges are good. It's a good place to start from. They are fairly simple questions, and you have a lot of time to think about it. You have a lot of time to code, because initially one thing is that you're not fluent with the programming language as well. So you take a lot of time to code it.
Hmm.
And if you try to hurry, you'll probably make some errors. And there are a lot of times some silly mistakes made here and there.
Right.
So I think attempt the long challenges, and I think the long challenges you should also try and read about things you think that would be used in the problem
Hmm.
when the contest is going on. You have, I think, 10 days or something. So if you think that maybe binary search is going to be used in this problem. Go read about binary search, come back, try to apply it. If
Yeah.
you can't solve it still, go read about something else you think would be used in it.
All right. Nishant has a clearly long challenge is his favorite code chef contest, and that's what he
No, no,
suggests.
no, no. Cook off is my favorite
All
contest.
right.
I'm
All
just
right.
saying you can start off from long. It's a good place to start. That's where I
Right.
started, and most of my friends who are good rated programmers right now, that's where they
Mhm.
started. Most of them.
Right.
Also,
Right.
Hacker Rank has a fair number of easy problems, so you can
Mhm.
start from there as well.
All right. That's nicely explained by Nishant. I hope that answers your question. Moving on to the question sent in, beforehand by the community. This is a question by Pranjal Shivhare. Okay. Pranjal wants to know what are the skills that he needs for his resume to apply for an internship, and he's learning C++ and DSA.
So when I applied for my first internship,
Uh-huh.
all I had in my resume was maybe a little bit of ratings and ranks in different contests, and I think there was one project that I had that I it was a self project. It wasn't really something through my college or something. So
Hmm.
that's general for tier three, tier one, tier two, doesn't matter. Even if you're not in college, if you're trying to do it yourself,
Hmm.
or if you're not from a engineering background, also in general.
Hmm.
So that's all I had, and my ratings weren't very good when I applied for the first internship. But
Right.
I think uh, then it matters in the interview, right? Because I think I performed well in the interviews, and it depends on your skill again. So you need to be confident. You need to solve the problems given in the interview.
Right. Okay. Next question
So,
has been sent
sorry,
in.
I did not answer the resume. So for the
Yeah.
resume, I think you can have anything, right? You can have good ratings would also give you an interview call. If you have a couple of development projects, awesome, you can add that. That would give you an
Right.
interview call. Any skill, whatever you spent your time on, right? Just put that on your resume.
Right. 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 So basically, spend your time intelligently, practice a lot of problems, do a lot of projects, if that's a fair thing to say, Nishant. And whatever experience you have gained, put that out on your resume, and that should land you a good internship.
Not
Uh,
an internship. It will land you an interview. Then
Interview
you
to an internship at least. Yes.
right. Yeah.
Right. Okay. The next question has been sent in by Shubhronil Shaha. Uh, this is how the question goes: how should a beginner in the first year of college start competitive programming and manage it with other studies of CSA courses? That's a very common question we get from a lot of people who do not know exactly how to handle their college timings, exam semesters, and competitive programming. If you have any advice for that.
Right. So I would say don't try to become a 6 or 7 star in one day. No one is asking you to do that. You're in your first year, so you have a lot of time with you as well. Just
Right.
try to be a little better every day. Try to practice gradually and be consistent. I would say consistency is the key here. So you have to be consistent, improve every day. And as I said, right, even if you spend an hour or two every day, you're probably solving two or three problems every day. Or if
Right.
you're not solving two or three problems, you're reading about something. It's the equivalent of that, right? But
Mhm.
in the end, you're going to like even if you solve maybe 10 problems a week, you'll probably by your third year you would have like more than 1,000 problems solved.
Amazing. 40 minutes into the conversation on this week's Weekends with Champions, we are with. This is for people who have just joined in. This is Nishant Chitkara with us. He is a two-time ICPC regionalist, a six-star coder on CodeChef, and he's also working as a technologist right now with LG Ads, with a line of amazing internships under his belt as well. He has been very meticulously answering our questions. So this is your chance to pick the brain of a genius. Keep your questions coming in. We will be taking some questions from the comment section right now before going back to the pre-sent questions already. All right, Nishant, let's look at the comment section. This is a question by Poker Faced. He has a very elaborate. I'm not sure if it's a he or a she. I'll just go through question. I have a mediocre experience in CP. I want to go further with contests as I'm able to solve two problems on code forces. What should be the strategy to be able to solve more? So he can only solve two right now. He wants to, solve more questions. If there is any suggestion for Poker Faced.
So right now you're able to solve two problems, right? So that means I assume that you're always reading the third problem on code forces and you're not able to find a solution within the time of the contest. So I would say that after the contest, try to think about the problem for an hour or two more.
Right.
And maybe after that, when you feel that, when you definitely feel like giving up, try for an hour or more still. And then you should probably read the solution, and don't read the solution at first. Try to read the hints that are given in the editorial on code forces. I think there are 2 or 3 hints every time, so read the hints. And even when you're reading the solution, right, try to read one line of the solution and try to think for the solution,
Right.
right, the
Right.
rest of the solution.
Excellent. Okay. Ayush Kumar doesn't want to waste any time. He straight wants
Yeah,
to
sorry
know.
to interrupt, but also try to code the problem always, because I've seen a lot of people, they just see, they once they know the approach of the problem, they won't code it. I would say code it as well, because you don't know, right? Maybe you're missing out on something still.
Absolutely. There's always a distance between the cup and the lips. So just
Yeah,
because you figured it out theoretically doesn't mean that you do not go ahead and run it.
right.
Uh, okay, Ayush Kumar Singh wants to know the books that you prefer during your CP journey. If there are any books, what would they be? And if there are any books that you use still?
I didn't use any book for competitive programming, unfortunately. So
Okay.
I used online resources only, mainly the famous platforms.
Hmm. Okay. Uh, uh, Nishant, you mentioned that you shifted to C++ during your CP days, but Deepak Chaurasia from YouTube, I think he prefers Java. So he
Yeah.
wants to know if he can or should continue CP with Java. What would you suggest him?
Yeah, you can definitely continue. I know a lot of people who have done it in Java, and a lot of the best programmers in the world, competitive programmers in the world, also write their code in Java.
Hmm.
So Java is usually accepted on all platforms, and it's usually tested well before the problem is out.
Right.
So there shouldn't be problems in that way. And also, because a lot of users are using it, you have a lot of codes to read after the contest if you feel like.
But is there any particular language that will give you an edge in today's professional world? Do you think anything like that exists, or all languages will help you in some way or the other, or something that is currently dominating the market?
You're talking about competitive programming, or in general?
In general, I mean, even if you start with competitive programming in your professional life, you won't be doing CP. So does it help a particular language, learning it during your CP days, and then does it is there any language that is advisable that this is going to help you in your professional career as well?
I think
Okay.
switching languages is not tough once you know a language like C++ or Java, because
Hmm.
those are like the fundamental languages. And once you know them, they're probably the toughest languages to write code in. So once you know that, you can easily shift to any other language.
Right.
So
Right.
if you want to learn Python later, which is like Python, JavaScript, or some language which is usually used in the professional world,
Right.
into that is not difficult. Like I can
Right.
confirm that.
So language is not that important an issue. You can always, switch and learn and
Yeah,
update yourself with other languages.
yeah, right.
Right. So someone does not have to be hung up with either CP or Java or C++. They can continue with whatever they're comfortable in right now. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, but if you don't know a language like Java or C++, I would suggest you to learn one. Like
Right.
switching from Python to one of those might not be as easy,
Right.
but the reverse is true.
All right. Fair enough. Okay. Coming back to the present questions from our community. This is a question from Shubham Kumar. Shubham uh, started his coding this year in May, and till now he has solved only one problem, one question on CodeChef or in any contest. So, what is the suggestion for him?
I would again give the same suggestion that try to absolve the next problem, try to absolve
Right.
the easiest problem you couldn't solve. If you have friends who do competitive programming, discuss with them about what their approach was. Try to read the code of other
Hmm.
participants to know different approaches. Like I've seen a lot of times different people use a lot of approaches and they vary a lot.
Right.
So it might help you to read it to know different ways to approach the problem as well.
Right. Okay. Soumya Shruti. Okay, no, this is the sorry. Let me just check the question again. Soumya Shruti, what is the most important thing required to reach ICPC as a beginner?
So the most important thing would probably be how good you're at problem solving. That is
Right.
one, and definitely your team. So you want to form a team before the registrations, because I've seen, at least in my college, if you don't form a team 2 or 3 months before the registrations,
Right.
you probably won't get a team. So that's how
Right.
competitive it actually is. So you want to find some teammates beforehand
Yeah.
and practice with them as much as you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Hmm.
practicing together would also motivate you to not give up because the other person is not giving up.
Right.
And yeah, and for that you need to have people who don't give up. So don't try to be try to form a team with people who are actually a little more hardworking than you, so that you go towards the higher side and not the lower side.
Right. 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 That's excellent strategy. Uh, Coders Club is still asking: can Java be used to get CP to get 6 star? Again, the as Nishant has put it, the language does not matter. You can continue with the language that you're comfortable with. I don't think Nishant would want to revisit that question again unless he has something to add to it. But I guess we get the gist.
Yeah,
Uh,
if I was using Java,
right,
I wouldn't switch to any other language. If
right.
if I have to give an answer in short.
Okay, Abhishek has asked, what struggles did you face during your coding journey? I think we, touched upon this question at the beginning. Let's just get into the details of it. What were the struggles that you faced during your journey, and how did you overcome them? And Abhishek has a second question to add. He is facing a lot of frustration and confusion. I think a lot of people go through that. So, what would you suggest him?
So one struggle I think is definitely when you're working hard and your ratings are not only not increasing but also decreasing.
Right,
But I did not know that at the time. But now I can say that that doesn't matter. Your rating, it will just keep going up and down. You don't need to worry about that. You need to worry about how you're performing and if you're actually satisfied with your performance in the contest, and what could you have done differently so that you could solve another problem or get a better rank, solve the problems faster in
right,
the next contest. You need to
right,
focus on that instead of the number. So I would say just ignore the rating,
right.
because I've seen a lot of people, like in my case, I was fortunate enough to not give up because of my rating decreasing, but there are a lot of people who give up because they're not able to increase their rating, or
Mm-hmm.
their rating just decreases with time.
Right,
But don't do that, right? Like just
right, right.
trust the process and practice, I guess.
Yes, rating is not the end goal, as we have discussed this earlier as well. It is about getting better. Uh, 10 minutes left for the session. Keep your questions coming in. We have a lot of questions already in the pipeline. I'm going to ask Nishant a question sent in by Yash Agarwal. Yash has a very simple and direct question for you. He wants to become a 6 star coder. How is he going to do it?
I'll again repeat it. Don't try to aim for just one thing, which is like an end goal. Just try to improve every day a little bit, and uh, try. Yeah, that's what you need to do. You need to improve slow and steady, and you don't want to become a 6 star in one day, right? I
Hmm.
hope that's not the question, but yeah, just focus on improving every day. Don't focus on your stars or rating right now.
All right. Okay. There are a few questions coming in from LinkedIn as well, but for some reason it's not coming on Restream. We will be taking them as well. So people coming in from LinkedIn, uh, We're going to take your questions soon. I'm going to go to the next question sent in by the community. It's by Vinita. Simple question again. Where should we start competitive programming?
I would say start by solving some basic questions on CodeChef. You can see the long challenges. Use HackerRank. They have a bunch of easy problems with well-written solutions. And in the background, you should keep trying to learn maybe a topic or two every week.
Hmm.
Uh, and if you're ever stuck at a problem which uses some topic that you have not studied or you're not aware of, try to read
Right,
about it, try to read articles about it,
right,
tutorials, blogs,
right.
whatever. You can
All right.
watch YouTube tutorials as well.
An interesting question has come in from LinkedIn. I have never seen such a question, but I'm going to take it just for the sake of its novelty. Uh, the user asks, Bhaiya, does typing speed matters in CP?
You shouldn't be very slow. Other than that, it shouldn't matter a lot
Hmm.
because it's like I don't think the solutions are normally very lengthy.
Right,
It's maybe like 80, 90 lines. So
right, right, right,
it should just be like, even if you're slow, it would take you a minute or more to code the solution. But the main time spent in a contest is thinking about the solution and not actually writing the code for it.
hmm. Okay. Okay, another question from LinkedIn is just started DSA and I am a third year student. How should I go further?
So you have just started DSA. So if you're asking this for because you want to crack a company or something that's visiting your college or off campus, I would say practice more of DSA. Try to get some problems done on lead code or interview bit or any other. Even you can also do some on some competitive programming websites, but usually the algorithms and problems asked in an interview are of a slightly different taste than competitive programming. They are
Right, right.
similar, but they're not exactly the same. So if you don't have a lot of time since you're in third year, I would say practice for in interviews if you're focusing on that. If you already have a job offer or something and you just want to explore competitive programming, then
Hmm.
you can obviously uh, try out CodeChef, Code Forces, and solve problems there.
All right. Excellent. Okay, this is a question that a lot of people ask. How do you manage college development and understanding DSA altogether? This is a question sent in by our community beforehand from Raj Dave, and it is not just Raj's question. It's a very common question.
So yeah, that's a tough thing actually. It's not as easy as it seems from outside.
Yeah.
But for at least DSA, I think an hour or two each day will help you in the long run. And for development, I would say just take up a project or two, right, under a professor in your college, or maybe just take it up with your friends. You can do individual projects, and
Hmm.
that would help you learn some other things that are beyond competitive programming.
Right.
And for managing college, I guess uh, you need to spend time for preparing for your exams and stuff.
Hmm.
Fortunately for me, I did not have a problem for attendance in my college, so
Right.
I had more time for other things. But if you have attendance, then I think you can always take out an hour or two, right, every day. That shouldn't be hard.
Okay. LinkedIn say or a question we have: which one is more important, Java collection framework or user design DSA? Very specific question for you, Nishant.
Hey, I don't have an idea about what Java collection framework is,
Okay.
so
Okay. Okay, so we can skip that, not a problem. Hitesh Jain in the common live comment section from YouTube has asked how much should we give in one day in coding or first year student. As you had just mentioned that even 1 hour a day should be enough, but if that's the answer you want to go with for Hitesh, what would you?
definitely more is better. How
Mhm.
much ever time you are able to give from your other work. I understand you would have work from college and other stuff to do.
Yeah,
So how much ever time you're able to give, but make sure that you don't give too much of time and later just end up giving up because you're tired of it or anything. You want
right,
to you want to do it for the long run, right? You don't want to give up after a month or two. So do it
Right.
for as much time as it is sustainable. So it should be sustainable for at least 4 or 5 years. You should be able to do. You should be able, if you decide to give 2 hours every day, you should be able to give 2 hours for the next 4 or 5 years.
Right. Okay, Nishant, Manabu Kyoto has asked if you could teach them how to do dynamic programming. Now, I'm sure in 4 minutes you won't be able to tell them everything about dynamic programming. But if there is anything as a tip or a suggestion that you would want to give Manabu.
So I think dynamic programming is more about practice. This is the topic you would have to practice the most, I guess. I think every programmer must have practiced this the most. It's it's a fairly complex topic compared to other ones. It's a little tricky. So spend time practicing it. The concept is not very big. It would take you a day or two to get the
Right,
concept,
right,
but the problems are pretty challenging here.
right. How much time did it take you to get a grasp of dynamic
Oh, I
programming?
still don't.
It is one of the most popular ones on when we put up on YouTube. In new sessions, dynamic programming gets a lot of traction. I think a lot of people want
How
to.
much ever you study dynamic programming, you can never be a master at it. It always there's always a question that you would still not be able to solve. So
Okay. Last question from LinkedIn. C++ language for dealing time complexity problem, or in other language also we can solve.
no, could you repeat that one?
Yeah, this was C++ language for dealing time complexity problem, or other language, or I mean, I think they're asking what other language we can solve time complexity in. Is C++ the best
For
language?
time complexity, you don't really require a programming language. For like that comes before you learn DSA, I guess. The first topic
Right.
in DSA would be time complexity.
Right. All right. Going to the feed from YouTube, we have Athar Deshpande wants to know your strategy to attempt questions in ICPC. You have given us a brief about your preparation method, your team selection methods, but we haven't spoken about your.
Yeah, so generally the strategy in my team was that we all read different problems and try to solve them.
Hmm.
And later, when we are all done with the easy problems, there are like 3 or 4 easy problems. That easy would also depend from team to team. But when we thought that we were done with the easy problems, we
Mhm.
would try and solve the difficult ones together so that we get different directions from each person. Because
Mhm.
I think the hard questions were such that no one of us could solve it alone, but all of us together could probably solve that question.
Right.
So that was our strategy, and I've seen a lot of strategies for ICPC. So it just depends like how which one suits for you. Like it comes automatically when you practice with your team. You would find out strategies, and in practice contests, you would know which one works, which doesn't.
All right. This is a question sent in beforehand. They want to know, while solving problems with a number of test cases and subtasks, few fail to pass. How to know what is missing and how to fix this problem? This is a question sent in by Ayush Singh.
So I'm assuming you already have solved a subtask and your code is correct. It's just not the most optimal code.
Right.
So I think in that case, you would want to see what part of your code is the bottleneck, which part of your code, like it would be probably 3 or 4 parts. If you could divide your code into 3 or 4 parts, which part is taking the most time, which
Mhm.
has the highest complexity, and try to work on that part, right?
Right.
You want to reduce the time complexity of that component so that your entire code is efficient.
Excellent. We are almost out of time. I'm just going to take one or two questions from the comment section and we will wrap this session up. Okay, this is a question from YouTube. I am a pass out and I struggle between concepts and problems for any preparation. So he's done with college and he's facing some issues with understanding concepts and problems. What is the suggestion for you for him?
If you're not able to understand a concept, probably there is another concept which is being used in that concept which you don't know.
Mhm.
So you want to see the prerequisites of each concept maybe, and
Right.
if you think that they are all done, maybe that concept is a difficult concept in general to learn. So
Hmm.
maybe consider spending a little more time.
Hmm.
Consider solving the easiest problem you can see for that concept.
Right.
Uh, Even while referring to the reference, try to code it yourself while referring to whatever material you're reading,
Hmm.
and try to and slowly, I think once you code a couple of problems, you can maybe solve a problem without looking at the material, and slowly you have a grasp of it.
Excellent. All right. One last question for Nishant. This is from Mohit Gambar. What is your approach to a problem which is not direct, like of a topic you're not familiar with during a contest? Interesting question to end with.
Yeah, so most probably what would happen in this case is I would try for the entire contest and I would not be able to crack the problem because I don't know the concept, or maybe I figure out some other way to do it, or maybe I figure out the concept itself.
Hmm.
So let's take the worst case when I am not able to solve it. So in that case, you probably want to still solve it for an hour or two after the contest. You want to read some comments that are there in the discussions. You want to read a couple of hints maybe, and if you're still not able to solve it, still not able to crack it, read the solution, and probably the solution would say that, hey, this problem uses, let's say, segment trees. So you want to go read about segment trees, try some basic problems. When you feel comfortable with it, come back to this problem, keep it in your to-do list,
Hmm.
and get back to it when you're familiar with segment trees.
Like nicely elaborated and well put, Nishant. That was Nishant Chitkara. We had an amazing session with him this Saturday. I hope he asked all your answered all your questions. Nishant, thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, if you have any piece of advice or something that you would like to share with your peers, your juniors, whoever is looking up to you right now.
Yeah, I would say just give your best for everything that you try to do, and yeah, you'll definitely make it then.
All right. Also, we wished that you would join us for Snackdown 2021. Whoever is watching, we would request you to come and participate. Nishant said he might be a little too busy for Snackdown this year, but we would love to see your participation
But
as
that's
well.
a great contest. I'd attempted it in my first or second year. I
Right.
can't remember, but it's a fun contest. It's in a team of two.
Yeah. This time it's individual though.
Oh, it's individual this time.
Yeah, it's going to be a little different this time because of the pandemic. We thought that it's not a good idea to.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
All right, Nishant, thank you so much for joining. We wish to do this again. Please have an amazing career, and we wish to see you become a red coder soon on CodeChef, and we can have this conversation again.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.